Come and play outside my dreams. You're not really just a fantasy. I just wanna plant my seed. Let me take you to the deep, girl, 'cause I just wanna give you all of me.
Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Reverend G. I'm here every Monday night on WEMS Radio, bringing you spiritual conversations. Happy Labor Day to everyone, and I hope you had a great day. I know that tomorrow is going to look really different from the different Labor Days that we've celebrated. But I'm wishing everyone a great day at work tomorrow. So I'm here on Mondays to bring you spiritual conversations, and I have different people from all walks of life, different careers, doing a lot of different amazing things. And I bring them on so that we can talk about spirituality from a practical point of view. How is spirituality working in your life? And you can be inspired by some of the things that they're doing, some of the spiritual practices they use, and be able to take some of the information that you hear here and use it in your life. So I like to say that Conversations with Reverend G is about creating a space where we can have really authentic spiritual conversations. So I'm available on Facebook. You can follow me as Reverend Grenetta Briggs Mason, also on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram as Rev G. So look me up and let's have some spiritual conversations. Tonight's guest is Jasmine Briggs Rogers. Jasmine Briggs Rogers is a career coach. She is the CEO of Creatively Inspired Coaching, and she also works as a director of career services. She has so many skills and so many things to offer around careers and you having your best career. And one of the things that I like to promote is finding joy, living your best life with grace and ease. Jasmine Briggs has a lot of products that she can bring to you, and she can talk to you about her spiritual journey and how it supported her in her career. So I want to bring Jasmine in and we can have conversations around careers, spirituality, and how to manage today. Hello, Jasmine. Oh, and I forgot to say, and you might already know that Jasmine's my daughter. So I've known her for a long time. I didn't think I needed to go into the whole where I met her. I met her a long time ago. And she has really been a really good career coach to me and helped me get through some of my career challenges. And this whole social media thing, she's really, really supported me in having that happen in my career as Reverend G. So Jasmine, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Jasmine Briggs Rogers. I'm a career coach and resume writer, as well as the director of career services at Berkeley College.
Okay, Jasmine. So I wanted to start talking to you about your spiritual journey. But first of all, I know a lot about you. So one of the things that I thought would be interesting is that I know that you got your master's degree in transpersonal psychology. And I wanted you to talk about what transpersonal psychology is and what led you to get a master's degree in that.
Sure. So before I got the master's degree in transpersonal psychology, I had never heard of it. I had applied to NYU for their drama therapy program, and I was a theater major in undergrad. And when I didn't get in, I was looking to take some online classes in psychology and apply again. And so I saw the school online, Institute of Transpersonal Psychology, and I asked for a brochure. And the brochure just spoke to me so much. I feel like I was carrying it around with me, but I really felt like, how could I study this? Nobody really knows what transpersonal psychology is. And it was really my mother, Reverend G, who was like, who cares? Study it. So, transpersonal psychology is a spiritual psychology, and it really studies humans at their highest potential. So it looks at Western psychology and what it has to say about the mind, but it also looks at different spiritual traditions and really what those spiritual traditions have to say about humans at their highest functioning. And so for me, one of the reasons I really wanted to go to the program is to work on myself. It's because I felt like I needed to feel, what is it like to be at my highest functioning and take kind of this spiritual journey. And that's really what it was for me, 2 years of a very intense study and also spiritual journey.
Cool. Great. And so, as you studied the transpersonal psychology, how has that supported you as a career coach? Can you talk a bit about being a career coach and the connection with spirituality?
Sure. So, as part of my program, the last year, I studied to be they have a transformational life coaching certification. And so that certification really opened me and introduced me to the world of coaching. While I was getting my master's degree, I was working as a legal recruiting assistant, and I was also working on my acting career. And so even once I started the program, I thought, you know what, I'm still going to continue to be an actor. That's still what I want to do. But it was through that program that I really released being an actor and through coaching. So I think it's really influenced, first off, it's the whole reason that I got into coaching. But also, I think from a spiritual perspective, it really influences how I work with clients and how both in coaching, life coaching, and in career coaching.
Okay, that's great. So, give us a little bit about your background and your spiritual journey. You know, as a child, and then where you are now. I understand that this transpersonal psychology has supported you. So let's talk about how you got to that point.
Sure. So, growing up, I can remember we always believed in God in my house and we were always Christian, but I don't feel like we were the kind of Christians that went to church every Sunday. Um, it was more, I think, going down to Memphis, which is where my mother's from. It's so weird to talk about you. um, and really going to church with my grandmother. So I used to spend the summers down in Memphis. That really made me have feel like I wanted to get to know Christianity more, we'll say. And I wanted to be baptized in Christianity based on going there and spending the summers there. It didn't happen, and that's fine. When I was in college, the pastor that was at my grandmother's church in Memphis actually was at a church in DC. So I started to go to church in DC my junior year, and I ended up getting baptized in DC. And actually, I followed the same pastor from DC, and then we followed each other. He went to a church in New York, and then I moved back to New York. So I continued to go. So I think up until that point, my spiritual journey was very rooted in Christianity.
Hmm.
I think there definitely was a point when I was back in New York, maybe a year or so before I started my master's program, that it was crazy. It's a Google movie called Zeitgeist. And it talked about Horus, the sun god, and it was just talking about all the similarities between Christianity and all these other religions. And it was almost mind blowing to me. And I started to feel like, why am I attached to Christianity? Is Christianity even real?
Mm.
And my mother called that same pastor and said, "You're about to lose Jasmine in your church." And he took me out to Ruby Tuesdays in Times Square, and we had dinner. And it really made me settle. I felt a little bit better about the stories of the Bible, and I hadn't studied the Bible, so it wasn't like I knew the stories, right? But I felt like some of the stories I was hearing about didn't sit so well with me.
Mm.
Yeah, but once I went into my master's program, I feel like we really started to study different types of religions. And I'm missing something here because there was a certain point in this right before then that you took me to a church. Tell me which it was.
Church was that?
It was on 116 Corinne.
Oh, it was the Freedom Church of the Divine, right?
What kind of church was that?
No, it was Christian based, but it was
Yes.
more New Thought. They had unity, right? And I think that's when we ventured for you more out of just like traditional Christianity, I would say, because this was Christian based,
Mm-hmm.
but it spoke a different language. It was a different way of understanding Christianity, and it was a different way of incorporating it in your life. I think that's what it was. I do remember at a point where you were like, I am not switching churches with you again, right?
Yeah, so after that church, and I really liked, that was my first introduction to New Thought, and I got a lot of books from them that I still read. Then you went to some other church that you were singing in the choir. Then you went to another church, and at that point I was like, I'm done. Nope, not following you to churches anymore. And I found, or you helped me find Unity of New York, and I kind of just stayed there.
Right.
I was like, you do your thing.
Right. I was moving around, right?
Choir. I was like, all right, go.
So that's pretty interesting. When we talk about spirituality, also, I know that you have a lot of skills that you bring to people in, you're doing career coaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? So can you talk to me a little bit about in the strategy that you use in your strategy sessions, right?
Mm-hmm.
How have you incorporated any type of spiritual practices or anything from your transpersonal training?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on where the person is, right? In terms of how I talk about it. But what I incorporate, and it's just in who I am, is this feeling that one, you are in control of your career. And two, you're in control of your career based on the thoughts that you think and the way and your ways of being and how you feel about situations. I think they very much influence the outcome. And we can look at that from a spiritual point of view about, your thoughts and the law of attraction. And we can also look at it from the point of view as if you feel negative about your job, you give off that energy and you go to your job being negative. And people feel that energy from you, and that they feel that from you on your job, they feel that from you on interviews, and that affects how people respond to you, and it affects how your career progression is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I know, and I do know that you like to kind of link both together. So let's talk about I know that people have transitioning to different careers, looking for jobs. We've just been through a whole COVID situation where people weren't working, right? And can you talk about some of the things that you would advise people to do right now that we're moving back in? I mean, jobs are different. I know there are jobs out there, but it may not be the same one. But what kind of things would you advise people to do given this situation?
So given this situation, I would advise people to stay flexible. I think I would advise people to really lean on their networks and reach on their networks and build. Even though we are all stuck in the house, I feel like there are 10 different Zoom events a day that you can attend and
Mhm.
really meet people. So thinking about being flexible, thinking about how do you use your network and expand your network. And also, and I know some of us that are working from home, it doesn't feel like we have more free time.
Mhm.
But if we do have free time or if we're out of work right now, what skills can we learn right now that would make us more competitive? What online certifications can we do right now that would give us an edge in the workforce?
Mhm. Those would be some of the suggestions. Yeah, I know we are looking for a lot of things to do being at home to kind of mix it up, not being able to go out. We kind of look for what else can we do. And I think that's a great idea. We had talked about looking at our strengths, I think, with um, somebody came on and talked about doing the strength evaluation and finding out what your strengths are. And this would be a good time to look at those strengths and then see how you can use them to support you. I have gone to your monthly virtual events, and I know that you are the LinkedIn expert and you love talking about LinkedIn, right? So I would like to give you an opportunity to just highlight um, what you would tell people about using LinkedIn and how they would go about creating a LinkedIn strategy. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So I think there are two components to that. One, building a great profile. And so we want to build a profile that tells our story, that has an engaging headline, that has a picture that's showing us flattering and smiling. But having a good profile isn't enough. We really want to have a strategy for how we're engaging and interacting with people on LinkedIn. So thinking about, okay, what's the audience that we're trying to target on LinkedIn? And then what's our message? So if we are in a say marketing, is our message about branding and what kind of branding and how do we craft content as well as share content and interact with people so that we're getting our message across and we're connecting to people in our industry.
Mhm. That really sounds good, and it's like a step by step. Here's the process. When we talk about spirituality, right? How would you coach somebody really around, what spiritual tools they could use or processes in, getting to the next level and using something like LinkedIn? Because as a lot of people aren't quite up to date on how to use LinkedIn. And I know we can talk about how the industry has changed now, right? And well, I think that people have a lot of fear, a lot of worry about the change and about moving forward, and where spiritual practices can support that also. So, can you speak to how you use that in your practice?
Sure. So I think you hit the nail on the head when we're talking about LinkedIn, and it's really fear, the kind of fear to put yourself out there. As I said, I work with college students, recent graduates, and sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I was waiting till I got my first job to make my LinkedIn profile," or "I was waiting until I had more. I'm not established enough." And I have to tell them that's not why it's for. It's
Mhm.
not to wait till you get somewhere. It's to kind of start now and share your journey and have people support you on your journey. So from that point of view, I think from a spiritual point of view, it's like what thoughts are you keeping around LinkedIn or around social media that are blocking you? And I like to separate LinkedIn from social media.
Mhm.
10 years from now, we might not be talking about LinkedIn, but right now, LinkedIn is how people are finding jobs. And I feel like
Mhm.
they've really changed the way we job search. And there are new ones coming up, Alignable and different things like that. But
Mhm.
right now, it's all about LinkedIn. And I think 95% of recruiters are on LinkedIn. So
Mhm.
we hurt ourselves when we're scared to put ourselves out there.
Mhm. Especially because I think about if you're not, how do you get a job if you're not, online or on LinkedIn? Because the industry has changed so much that it's very important for people to get over those fears. You know, we talked about what kind of practices you could use to not be afraid, jump in, right? Do it afraid, you know, all the different things that we would say to have people go ahead and do it anyway. And those, I mean, like those can be just practices that you do. And if as scared as you are, just do it anyway, right?
Because
Go ahead.
I hire too, as you know, through my job. And one of the first things I do when I get a resume is I look for the person on LinkedIn. And if I don't find them on LinkedIn, I'm Googling them and I'm going through their Facebook, I'm going through their Twitter. So what representation is there of you outlined? And sometimes if there's nothing out there, and I hire career coaches, so when they don't have a LinkedIn profile, it's a little different than if I was hiring for something else. But I take a minute back, like, what are you hiding? Why can't I find anything about you online?
You said that you separated LinkedIn from social media.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me.
So in the sense that it's a professional site, and it's important to realize the things that you share on Facebook and you share on Twitter are not the same kind of things that you want to share on LinkedIn. I find that on Facebook, I can be very political, liking, sharing political articles. I stay away from those types of articles on LinkedIn. And I focus on things that have to do with my industry, the job market, tips about how to find a job.
So you're setting up a personality on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah. And it's about your personal brand. I think I have a personal brand, and I express it on LinkedIn one way, and I express it on Facebook a different way. And they're still me, but the things that I would talk about, and even if I'm sharing, say, the same article on my Facebook company page and my LinkedIn page, I may say something different or have a different intro because they're two different audiences that I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I've heard you say, I hope you love your Monday morning, right? So can you talk about, is there anything spiritual in there, right? Or when you say help you love your Monday morning, I know it's talking about helping people find the job that they're passionate about and all that. But I love that line because people generally have Monday blues, right? So can you talk to that brand that you're branding?
Sure. Well, I'll just say I generally like to start my Mondays with yoga or meditation. Even when I fall off the wagon, because I do, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start again on Monday. Monday's like that start over kind of day for me. And I think I've come from a place of not loving my career. So to now be in a space where I love it, it's a passion for me to say, hey, I know what it's like to not love what you're doing. Or I've had goals that I was working for just because, you know what, I said I was going to do this. So I'm going to muscle through and do it, even though it's not sitting right with me. So it's a different vibe on Monday. And I'm not going to say I haven't woken up on Monday and go, oh, I don't want to go to work right now. But as soon as I change my thoughts and go, wow, you like your job, I flow different. And I'm able to kind of get out there and start my day. And it's almost thinking about like, what are the thoughts you say to yourself when you open your eyes up on Monday morning? And that those thoughts carry into the whole week, I feel like.
Okay, so starting the Monday morning off, correct. And we talk about the law of attraction, and it talks about generally, you know, the thoughts that you keep, what are you attracting in your life, right? And it's interesting we take career coaching as career coaching, but how do you, and it's very important. I think the spirituality is underlying all careers and all things, right? How do you coach people with using the law of attraction in your coaching them towards their best career?
I think it has to go with what you're thinking and what you believe is possible. So when I'm coaching career transitioners, if they don't believe that they can make the transition, then they can't. And there's nothing that I can do until you get behind believing that it's possible. So I think too, once you believe that it's possible, doors open up for you. You're able to explore new things. So one of the questions I ask people is, tell me what you wanted to do when you were a little kid. What was the dream as a kid? Let's go all the way back. And now that we're going forward, how did we get here? And what is it that you're interested in exploring if you could do anything? And kind of removing those barriers, I think helps people go within to figure out what their true desires are.
Okay. When you said that, it reminded me of a period when you used to do those workshops, right? And we used to do those vision boards, right? Can talk about how you incorporated the spiritual aspects in that, because it was a very interesting way of doing vision boards and getting ready for it.
Yeah, so that was probably 10 years ago now.
It was 10 years already?
I got my master's degree in 2010.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
So what was nice about those, and to thinking about my master's degree, my specialization was in creativity and innovation. And it was all about creativity as a spiritual practice. And I think that's really where the workshops were. It was like using creative expression as a spiritual practice and as a way to set goals and go within. So we would start out with different, like a meditation to come together. And then it was vision boarding, but it was also, I feel like one of the fun ones we did was all about music. And we had album book covers about our lives, these collages, right? And we had to set goals that were the soundtrack. I think we did one where we did our whole year. So it was vision boarding, but I feel like we came to it with a purpose. And it was just a way to have people think outside the box and tap into that creative spirit. And we did journals, we did writing. So it was like, what kind of creativity worked best for you? And I think it all came together well. I had a lot of fun. They weren't money makers, but they were definitely a lot of fun.
What I remember about them, that I was always amazed at the end of what I came up with, because it was just like, just be free and don't think about what it is. And then it always was quite interesting, to just put them together. And I have them all on a wall somewhere. And it reminded me, because I saw something recently where a person had a vision board and they got the exact ring that they had put on the vision board, right? And so it was like, vision, do it, because that really works, when you do it like that. So we've been talking about spiritual tools, spirituality. And I also wanted to talk to you about COVID, like this time period, right? The impact that it's had on you, and how you've used what spiritual practices you use to get you through, and how you can support others. What can you tell them about what you've gone through and used that could support them?
So I shouldn't say this, but I have been very lucky and blessed during COVID. I still have my full-time job. There was a point in time where clients weren't coming in, and I got it. But even now, I feel like things are picking up. So because things are picking up, people are now wanting resumes and wanting to talk about their LinkedIn profiles. I think I got very sad, though. There was a point in time where I got a bit sad, because it was just going on so long and there was a lot of uncertainty. And I never watched the news, but there was a period for about a month where all I did was watch the news. And that kind of can bring you down. I learned from my mom, don't watch the news. And so I think meditation has really helped me a lot during this time. Doing yoga, being able to connect with people, even if it's virtually, because one of the things too, it's like, I can't go anywhere. I can't see anyone. It's just been kind of me and my husband. So being able to connect with people through video and seeing the positives that have come out of this whole situation, even if it's something small, like back, they were saying like the smog is lifted in one city it was. And so just being able to say, hey, these little things that are going on in nature, how beautiful is that? And being able to sit with those things.
Mm-hmm. Really supported you, right? And I know you have a cat, so man, the cat brought some.
Cat. Kitty Panther.
I think that pets bring so much. I was just so against having a pets. Like, Jasmine always wanted pets. And what did you get? A turtle?
Turtle. That's it.
Big turtle. Big turtle. But now I have 2 dogs, and it's just so amazing. The peace that they bring, the joy that they bring. When you talk about joy, it's just that feeling you get from the dogs, right? So it's interesting when we talk about spiritual practices and things that support us. And because I've also been in the house, it's been a pleasure to be with the dogs, right? Because they bring a certain amount of comfort and joy, right? And that's what I talk about, is how do you find joy in your life, right? And I'm reading this great book that I don't even want to start talking about too much because I don't know a whole lot about it, but everybody I meet, I'm talking about it. It's called The Happiness Hypothesis. And I laugh because it brings to mind every time I'm reading something, I want everybody.
Every time. I have read Dr. Joe Dispenza because you were reading it. I have read Michael Bernard Beckwith because you were reading it.
Right. It's like I just want to. I want to have people to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I do remember years ago when I was doing A Course in Miracles, they used to call me the Blue Book Lady because I was walking around with that Course in Miracles and I was talking about it. And it's interesting when you think your spiritual journey and all the different things that you used and learned. I did a whole Course in Miracles. I've done so many different spiritual practices. And the thing is to come up with your personal one. I think that's what I love about having different people on too, is everybody talks about what's personal for them. There's just so many different spiritual practices. And I've also found that I'm surprised by some of them because you hear the usuals, the meditation or the yoga, but people were saying things like being authentic as a spiritual practice, right? Gratitude, right, was one. I mean, we know about gratitude, just different practices that I love, because one of the goals here is for you to be inspired to create your own spiritual toolkit, right? And also,
I would say A Course in Miracles is now in my spiritual toolkit because of you. I call it the bathroom book because growing up it was always in the bathroom. And now I have a magazine rack. I don't have any magazines in it. I just have A Course in Miracles. Even the other day, my husband was like, "Should we throw away this magazine rack?" And I was thinking, "Well, where will I put my Course in Miracles?" It has to go in the bathroom.
Because it was so short, a quick read. They didn't want you to last too long with it, right? but it is very interesting too, because I think for me, as going to an interfaith seminary and learning studying all of the different religions, and it's so many, and just getting inspired by each one, right? And being able to appreciate each one brought a whole nother level of spiritual awareness, spiritual unfoldment for me. But you have been on a quest with me, right? So it's just been interesting. What would you say are your top toolkit items?
Sure. So I don't know. I would say Meditation. Would say meditation and yoga are the things that I do most often.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely like reading spiritual books is really big for me. I can't think of the name of the book, but we got it from the Divine Church. It was like this thick, and I used to carry that book with me on the train,
Mm-hmm.
a little gray book, and I
Mm-hmm.
would read it every morning. And that for me helped me stay grounded. So I think, and it's changed over time, different things. I feel like too in studying transpersonal psychology, you learn about all these different spiritual traditions, and you learn about and you see the similarities in them. And I think that really blows your mind too, because with a lot of them, I felt like I could study any of these, right? If I wanted to, I could get into any of these. Um, but it brought me closer to Christianity, funny enough, because I started kind of thinking about the teachings of Jesus Christ, and then I think doubled with going to a unity church, and really it helped me kind of get over all of my hangups, and I'll admit that I have hangups about religion, right? And religious people.
Mm-hmm.
So it helped me kind of come back to the religion of my youth, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
But right now,
Go ahead.
I try to listen now to Unity service, meditation, yoga, talking to my mother, because she'll hit me with the hard, how did you cause this? So I'll have to think about what thoughts what was I keeping in that moment? How did I influence the situation?
I know, you say you listen to and follow everything. So let's talk about Abraham Hicks, because that's my big thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love is that through different periods, we've studied different things, we read different books, we follow different people speak to us at different times. Remember, we were on a Michael Beckwith kick. Oh my God,
tattoo on my back. So
right.
Not like his name or anything.
Right. What does it say? It's like nothing.
There's nothing outside of me that determines my happiness.
Yes, and that was when we were on our Michael Beckwith trip, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're on like this Abraham Hicks movement, right?
Okay, we are. So, I want to do a cruise.
You what?
I want to do one of her cruises.
Yeah, I think
so we can cruise again safely.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about how studying and listening to that has impacted you and how you support your clients. Because there are going to be two questions. I also know that you write resumes, right? So in writing resumes, is there any way where how do you address like anything spiritual or energetic, or, because now when we talk about spirituality, we're talking about energy, we're talking about thoughts, we're talking about who you're attracting. So it's kind of interesting. That just kind of popped into my mind. Like, does the resume say I'm free and open, right? I don't think so, right? But the first question was about Abraham Hicks.
Sure. So I think what Abraham Hicks has really done for me was it has had me realize that my goal in life is to be happy. Mm-hmm. And I think once I come, there's like goals that I want to hit, mm-hmm. but the first thing to do is to get happy on the journey. And it's really had me switch from once I get here, I'll be happy mindset to mm-hmm. no, the point is to be happy now, and being happy on the journey is what's going to get you right here.
Okay.
And even I was in a new town this weekend, and I'm on Roy Ward, so I got a little nervous about, is this restaurant going to be too packed? Are we going to be able to get here or there? How are we going to drive there? And I just had to keep telling myself, everything is always working out for me. And literally, we went to some of the most beautiful places with zero waits, and they were not crowded at all. And it was that, I think, Abraham Hicks point of view, right? That knowing, putting out the energy of positivity, just knowing that everything is going to work out for me and being happy. Now, one of the things that's helped me in my marriage is I often say to myself, I can be right or I can be happy. What do I want to do? Do I want to be right and mess up this day, or do I want to be happy?
Right.
So that helps a lot when traveling with someone else.
Right. With a travel buddy, right?
In terms of resumes, I don't know. I don't put spirituality into resumes.
No, I don't think so. Right. I was just thinking,
putting industry
energy come across that. No, I guess not spirituality. After I said it, I was like, are you kidding me? Spirituality, right?
But I do. It's only positive information, right? We're placing your wins on a paper, and we're telling a story that uses industry keywords, that talks about your wins and what your accomplishments and how you can bring those accomplishments. So oftentimes, like, we don't say objectives anymore on top of resumes. We use professional summaries. But a lot of times I'll still see people writing objectives, but calling them professional summaries. And I feel like objective is like, I'm looking for a job where I can grow and I'm personable and I can, help your company, as opposed to a professional summary was like, I have 3 years of history of helping a company, right? So it's a different kind of vibe. It's very positive and confident in a resume.
Right. Okay. I guess that's it. Right. Putting out there, like, from a very positive perspective. I hear what you're saying. Right.
Am I right when I'm gonna? How do I make this spiritual?
Can you? I know, because I've been with you a long time. That you are a certified life coach, right? Can you talk about, have you seen a difference so as your career coaching, you probably kind of mixing some of that in. Can you do you make a distinction between whether you're life coaching and career coaching? I guess if you're writing a resume, yes. But in creating, you do like coaching strategy, you give these 3-month strategies where they can do branding and come up with a career. Can you talk about that?
I think it really depends on what stage you're in. Some of it is going to be coaching, where we're talking about what does your ideal career look like, and you tell me what steps you need to take and how are we getting there, and I'm holding you accountable to steps you're going to take. Some of it is, as a consultant, I know what it takes to get a job. So I'm saying, no, I need you to do these things. And it can be like a back into, well, I don't feel comfortable. All right, well, how do we create a strategy that works for you, where you feel comfortable and where you're going to put the best energy out there? Because if you don't feel comfortable, you're not going to do it. So there's that mix of coaching and consulting when it comes with career coaching. With life coaching, it's less consulting, because I'm not the expert in your life. I am just here to ask questions that help you get to the answer, that help you figure out what's blocking you and support you in moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, and we talked about happiness. I'm reading the happiness book, right? And it's very interesting that we talk about how happiness comes from within, but I also say, wow, some things outside make me happy too, right? So I think sustained happiness isn't about like having certain things, because I guess they will be momentary. I could be happy when I buy the car, but then the happy moment is over once I have the car. Right.
Yeah. So, 2 weeks.
Yeah. But if I can come from within and just try to find that happy spot, happy thing all the time, and I know you can't be happy all the time because life is going to happen. And it's like, how do I respond? Right. And I think having spiritual practices will help you get better at how you respond to life, right? What I like is about just pausing for a moment, right? And responding versus reacting, right? So, Jasmine, from your spiritual journey, right, what would you like to share that you think can support others as they are, creating their spiritual toolkits, creating their lives,
I think what has helped me is just having an open mind
Mm,
and being willing to explore and learn about different things and not feeling like I know it all or I have this one thing that I do and this one religion that I follow and everything else is wrong.
mm,
So I think a lot of that was the master's program for me, was just learning about so many different other traditions, and seeing how they were all so similar,
right, okay,
in terms of like, the core value of loving each other.
right, right.
I think that helped me. So I would say your spiritual journey is a lifetime, right?
Mm,
So know that how you feel about something at 25 is going to be different at 35 and 45 and 55. And that's the same with your career.
mm,
What you're interested in at 25 is going to be different at 35 and 45 and 55. And just with your spirituality, you want to stay flexible and be open with your career. Most people have 2 to 3 careers in their lifetime, and so allow for that flexibility in all parts of your life.
mm. That's beautiful. As I said earlier, I know that you do a lot of different things. So I'm here to kind of talk about all those things, right, and bring it together. And I know that we've talked, I like that we've talked a lot about how spirituality has impacted your life. We've talked about religion, right? And when I look at all the different skill sets that you bring, I just want you to highlight some of them. So, one that I think of now is you did like digital branding. And I think that's kind of interesting too, because we're in this whole digital world now, right? And can you just give us something about what is that and what is digital branding strategy?
Sure. So, what it is really getting clear about what your personal brand is and defining your personal brand. And then from there, creating a social media strategy that will support you in your career. So, whether you're looking for a new job, building a business, or just looking to work your way up in your company or field, how can you use social media to almost be like an influencer in your particular field? So, knowing what's your message, who your audience is, where do they hang out on social media, and then creating a plan for how you're going to share and engage with that audience.
So that goes hand in hand with like a social media strategy. They're kind
Yeah,
of like,
that
oh,
is that's the from beginning to end.
mhm,
Figure out your personal brand
mhm,
to posting. So
right.
yeah,
Okay. And it's interesting too, because even when I think about, career and jobs, I remember how we used to get jobs, right? It was something like we used to hit the street, or you would get the Sunday New York Times, right? And you would flip through that newspaper to find a job, and then you hit the street. No more hitting the street, right? Everything is so online, and we have to I like really getting people to know that, right? I think there is a need for people to understand that it's digital. And with the way COVID has gone and with the way the world is gonna look now, it's gonna look very digital, right?
yeah.
And like people like me, I mean, I'm out there, not me, but there's a group, right? That I would like to support in knowing that this is how we're moving forward. And, I work at a educational opportunity center for adults, right? And it's something to get them to also to get an email address, learn how to read emails. I'm only going to correspond to you via email. So it's really something about coming up to this whole new digital world. And that can create anxiety. So you'll need a spiritual tool, right?
And it almost kind of can create a socioeconomic barrier as well. Like I used to work at a nonprofit that helped people who were recently coming out of prison or had substance abuse issues. And I recently was looking back at a manual that I created for them. And I was teaching them how to create an email address. And it seems crazy to me now to think, and this is only what, 7 years ago, that I had to basically teach a lot of people and help a lot of people with just setting up an email address.
Right. Yeah, and you can't get anything now without having an email address. It's sort of, you really don't exist if you are not digital. I mean, it's just a lot of aspects that I was saying. It can create a lot of anxiety too. So you're going to need a spiritual tool. So I'm a new business, old school, telling me I have to do a social media. I freaked out, right? So I'm one of those ones that was like, oh, what? I got to be online every day and I got to post. Oh, this is not going to work for me, right? So I had a lot of anxiety around it. So I had to get over the fear. I had to use meditation. I had to use a lot of things. And what I've done is in the morning, boom, I do all of it, right? If I don't know right when I would get it done. But I know that as time goes on, I'll probably just have to hire somebody, because when you realize some of the things you want to do and some of the things you don't want to do, I'm not sure that whole social media thing I want to actually physically do, but I understand the importance of being visible, the importance of people knowing that I'm here. Reverend G's in the house, so she has to be social, right? Social on this media, on this whole thing for people to know. So yeah, and I think from the beginning, this whole conversations with Reverend G is about creating like authentic spiritual conversations for people to come in and talk about what religion and spirituality, because I think it can really support you. So if you can talk about it and get past some of the barriers and get past some of the things that have caused you to like walk away or not fully understand it, great conversations, right? So that's why I really love all the different types of people that I bring in. And you guys join me because we are going to have some exciting guests. Jasmine Briggs, my baby girl, thank you for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G. You have a great week.
You too. Thank you. And hopefully you'll join me tomorrow for my next career development happy hour.
Yeah, I'll be there. You know, always there, right? Let them know where they can reach you.
Jasmine. Yes. So website is jasminebriggs.com, on Instagram at CI Coaching, on Facebook as Life Coach Jasmine, and on YouTube as Jasmine Briggs 11.
Thank you, Jasmine Briggs. So everybody, it was nice having you here tonight to share with me and my daughter spiritual conversations. And as I said, I'm here to help you find joy, live your best life with grace and ease. And I think that having a spiritual practice can support that. And as we see, people have many different types of spiritual practices that support them. So tonight I would like to leave you with a mindful moment. And that mindful moment is manifesting through visualization. So we talk about how do we get the things that we want? We talk about, you know, the thoughts that you keep will manifest what you want. But one of the tools that you can really use is visualizing what you want. What is it that you really want? If you can see it, you can really have it. So I'm suggesting that during your mindful moments, a mindful moment is for you to reset, recalibrate. During a mindful moment, visualize that perfect career. Visualize exactly the job you want, the job that you're passionate about, the career that you're passionate about. Maybe you want to own your own business. So during your mindful moment, Use visualization to help you manifest the things that you want in your life. It's Reverend G, and I'm here every Monday on WEMS Radio from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. with spiritual conversations. And you can follow me on Instagram as Rev Grenetta, on Facebook and YouTube as Reverend Grenetta Mason. Have a great, great week, and I'll see you next week with another exciting guest on Conversations with Reverend G. Take care.